Everything said on the Couplings Fire Podcast are our opinions, and in no way represent the opinions and values of any agency we are associated with.
Hey, this is the Couplings Fire Podcast.
Here's a couple of things you might need to know, or maybe you just forgot.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Taylor.
We're married.
And we're both firefighters.
Join us as we talk anything and everything fire-related.
Based out of small town, rural Nebraska, we bring our unique challenges and solutions to the table every episode.
Our goal? To better the rural volunteer firefighting community, one person at a time.
Let's get on to the episode.
Welcome to our podcast. My name is Chris.
I'm Taylor.
And we are coming to you from the middle of Nebraska, near the Kansas border, state line thing. So we're going to bring you a podcast here. We're going to give this a shot. Why not? Because we have some things I think we can share with the fire service, I think.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk to you guys here for a while. And if you are joining us on our first podcast, welcome.
We decided to name this thing Couplings. And you know, maybe some of you guys are going to get it right away, but honestly, this kind of came from Chris. He kind of decided what to call it, and I went along with it because it kind of started to grow on me the more and more we talked about it.
So you didn't like it when I first told you. You thought I was joking.
Yeah, I did think he was joking. I'm like, are you kidding? So why do you like this name for a podcast?
Because it's clever.
It's clever.
It's clever. Couplings, because we are a couple. We are married.
Aww.
So, it's just clever play on words there. You have male and female ends of a hose.
We are connected.
The couplers. So we are connected together, and we are coupled together, and we're trying to get information from one end to the other end of the hose, and hopefully it goes through the couplers. Hopefully it's not just one hose.
Ooh.
How about that?
I didn't even think of that point of that. That's good.
Or from the truck to then to the nozzle, and you need couplers to do I don't know, something like that. So, yeah, it's just a clever play on words, I think.
I like it. I really do. And I think those of you guys who are knowledgeable with firefighting in general are going to be able to kind of pick up right away why it's called couplings after you hear us talk. Just the fact of male and female married together, talking together. But you know, for those of you who don't quite catch on, there's the explanation for you.
Somebody's getting screwed.
Oh, that's bad.
Yeah, you've never heard that before. So, yeah, that's why I think, I don't know, those are my little reasons, I guess, of calling it coupling. We'll get started with a little bit of information on our department and who we are and try to entertain you for a little bit.
Yeah, we promise the episodes after this will probably be way more entertaining and way more what you want to listen to. But this first one here is just to get to know a little bit about us, about our department, where we come from, and what we hope for this podcast to be. So this is more of an introductory episode to everything that's coming later. So.
And something to reference back for.
Exactly.
So.
If you ever forget anything about us, just come back and listen to this one really quick and you'll be good to go.
Yep. All right, so we'll start out here. Like I said, my name's Chris. My wife's name here is Taylor. My wife, we are married, and that's another reason why we're kind of doing this. But we'll start here, before we get into all that, we'll start here with our department. So, you want to tell us about our department?
I guess I would love to.
All right.
I would love to tell you about our department. We are an all-volunteer department. We are not paid. We are not paid on call. We are not a combination. We are 100% volunteer. We have about 30 members, and it ranges from about 25 to 35 members on one given point.
Mostly guys.
Mostly guys. There are 2 of us girls on here, so I was the only girl for a little while, and It's kind of nice to have someone else on here now. So we have 30 members. We have 8 trucks, and we are both a city and rural department here. So we actually have 2 quote-unquote companies that come together for one department. So we have the different trucks are owned by the rural board or the city board and whatnot, but we can use them for basically whatever we deem necessary. We're able to borrow, and that's getting way too into it. But
gives us more resources. But so anyway, yeah, we got 8 trucks here at our station. A little bit about how our department's organized, just for the background. We have a chief, an assistant chief, like everyone else does. Under them, we have 4 captains, which is a little different than most departments. Mm-hmm. We used to have 2 lieutenants and 2 captains. We just kind of found out that basically lieutenants and captains were doing the same thing. Saved a little bit of headache, made 4 lieutenants out of it. So
yeah,
that's kind of how that came down. It was kind of a weird deal, but that's how it worked, and that's what everyone wanted, so that's what we did.
Yeah, the way we work on calls and things, we never know who's necessarily going to show up. So instead of worrying about who's on top of the other one, that sounds bad.
They'll read into it.
Yeah.
Basically, just put all our officers on a level playing ground, so that no one was stepping on any toes, since everyone was doing the same thing anyway. So.
And then on top of that, we also have 2 safety officers as well on the fire department. So that's our outside operations, the structure, and then everybody else is just under them as normal firefighters.
Yep. I know a lot of departments out there train on specific positions, hosmen, pump operators, that sort of deal. We don't here. We're just do whatever you know how to do. We'll train you, and as soon as you feel comfortable with that, and the officers kind of know you're comfortable with that, you're pretty much welcome to do it. So
yeah,
that's the other thing that's a little bit different. So
no specific engine companies or truck companies. We all do everything, and anyone who's able to go inside or willing to go inside, well, they are known by everybody, and those who know how to run the pumps are known by everybody, and it's kind of a free-for-all, so it's kind of fun once you get on scene and figure out who actually showed up to the call, since we're all volunteer, what you're going to be able to do with your tactics. So that's going to be fun for future tactic episodes.
Yeah, for sure.
Talking about who actually shows up and how you may need to change your tactics. Anyways, going on.
Yeah, continuing on with that, because we don't need to get into that right now. Our department, we respond to probably anywhere between 35 and 45 calls a year. So not a super busy department by any means.
No.
We do a fair amount of grass fires, and we do car wrecks. We do have a handful of car wrecks every year. Mm-hmm. And
I'd say between 3 and 5 structure fires a year.
Yeah. We probably get 1 or 2 good working ones, but we go to a handful every year. Mm-hmm. So seems like for one reason or another anyway. Other than that, I mean, we respond about everything, but those are the major things that we do.
Yeah. And then here on our department, our EMTs, our ambulance service, is actually separate from the fire department. They're under technically a wing of us or whatnot, but they are their own thing. They're also volunteers, and we do have firefighters who are also EMTs as well and run with them, but none of our firefighters have to necessarily go on EMS calls, which is very different when you get to our size of a town. We serve a population somewhere between 1,200 and 2,000 people. It kind of fluctuates. That's what I'm going to say now.
Yeah.
It kind of fluctuates, but it's about that. So most communities that have something like that and have their ambulance service also be volunteer usually run as one big department. Ours are separated, which is very nice. So we do have a number of our firefighters who are actually both firefighters and EMTs, but we're able to be separate.
I think there's 3 of us now.
Yeah.
That are both fire and EMTs. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of nice though, because if you go to a car wreck and the fire trucks are the first ones there, usually you get an EMT with them. So that's kind of nice. Good resource anyway.
It is.
So that's kind of in general kind of how our department's set up. We might get a little more into it a little bit later, but in general that's kind of how we're set up. Pretty tight knit group of guys for the most part. We got about, I think right now we have a little over 30 people on the roster.
I think we might have like 32.
32 or 33.
Something like that.
And we get most departments our size are here about everywhere. You know, you have that many guys on the roster, but
how many actually show up to do anything?
how many guys can you get there to work? So
daytime calls, you may get 5 for a while, unless it's a good working fire and everybody hears about it over the pager.
Exactly. We all know how that goes.
Yeah, we all know how that goes.
Some of our employers don't let us go. Some just don't care for it as much as others do. That fun thing.
Yeah.
So. And some of our guys are getting older.
We had a lot more older guys till a bunch of them retired.
Yeah.
There were quite a few who retired.
We had one guy on here with 66 years of service.
Yes.
Freaking ridiculous. He was fun, though.
It's amazing. But they would still do their part. They would show up and fill air bottles, or they would run the radio, or we had one guy for the longest time doing traffic control, for us.
Yeah, he'd put his personal vehicle out on Main Street to block traffic for us.
Exactly. He wasn't able to actually go on calls anymore, but that's the big benefit of being on a volunteer department is you have those guys who are probably too old to actually do anything on the fire ground, but they can block traffic for you, and it's a huge resource to have. So our department is set up. You've heard kind of some of the basics of stuff. So we run practices, and especially being a volunteer department, we need our practices to be able to keep up on the types of calls that we aren't going to very often or to get better. So we run our summer practices May through August, and that is every week in the summer on Mondays. And then from September through April, we do our winter practices, which we meet the first Monday of the month for those nights. And those are about an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on what the training is and depending on if we've been actually active with our fires lately or whatnot or what we're doing. So
yeah, in our area, and I don't know very much, I guess, outside of our area. But
I really don't know outside of Nebraska, which is I'm very curious to see who all listens to this. If you want to tell us exactly how much you guys practice, how often you guys practice, how many people you have on your department, your demographics for that, I would love to know, because I am very curious to know what other departments are doing.
Yeah. We're a very active department in our area because we have so many trainings. A lot of the smaller towns that surround us, from what I hear, maybe once or twice a year.
Yeah, even some ones I was very surprised to hear that don't require their members to come to trainings to stay on the roster. Ours do.
Yeah.
And there's some other ones that are their community is 10 times the size of ours that don't require the members to come to practices or meetings.
Something that's a little bit different about ours that we found with our local area anyway is not common, I guess. So
Yep, it's very uncommon, which does cause a little bit of a problem sometimes getting new recruits, but the people who stay are dedicated.
That's
it's
true.
For it.
That's
I mean, the people who stay are meant to stay.
Yeah, and usually we know by a year if they're going to stay or not.
Yeah.
But when we don't try to burn anyone out, we just, I don't know, I think our department just takes it a little more
seriously.
And
We know that this is a quote-unquote job or hobby, in our case, that can kill you. And we do take it more seriously than other departments around.
Yeah, and that's a whole another discussion for another time, so we won't get into that. So that's how our practices are set up. We do have monthly meetings, like everyone else, that pay bills, that kind of stuff. And our town or our district, like Taylor kind of pointed out, we're 2,000 people, kind of depending on what time of year it is. We live by a lake, not so much our population here, but we do cover half the lake, so we kind of have a few more people we got to watch out for and stuff like that. So we cover 2,000 people or less, usually. We're a big retirement community.
Huge retirement community. Well, for the size of town we have 5 assisted living communities.
Nursing
homes.
Yep.
Yeah, we have 5, which is for 2,000 or less people. That's a lot.
Yeah, so we definitely get, on the EMS side, we definitely have a lot of elderly calls, but as far as fire goes, it just that kind of adds another dimension in there that we kind of have to start it, or not really start, but account for. So we're a very rural area, a lot of farm ground out here. So that's a lot where our grass fires and field fires and stuff like that come from. I think last time, it was like 127 square miles that we cover.
Oh, I can't remember. I don't know. I should
know. Something like that. That's kind of our district. We're not a high-income district by any means. We're kind of mid to low.
Yeah.
That's kind of what our district looks like around here. We do have, as far as our station goes and stuff like that, our truck are fairly new compared to a lot of our departments around here and stuff. We're not well taken care of by any means, but we definitely have nicer stuff compared to a lot of guys. So
we take care of our stuff.
Yes, we do. We have a lot of pride in our stuff. And it sounds like I'm making fun of it. I'm really not. But we do take a lot of pride in our equipment and our station, and the guys here learn a lot from it, I think. So.
It's a good problem to have. It's not a good problem, but it's an interesting problem to have when we take good enough care of our stuff that people in the community don't realize how old our trucks are.
Yeah.
That's how good we take care of our trucks.
Most of the trucks here are older than you and I.
Yes.
So that's saying something. But anyway, that's kind of our department in a nutshell. Something to give you guys a reference back to, and we'll kind of start talking about our stuff here and us personally, and that way you guys kind of know who we are. Basically, I guess I'll start. I kind of got this whole fire service deal started in the first place, so I guess I'll start this. So yeah, a little bit about us. My day job, I work in a repair shop. We work on their 4-wheelers, side-by-sides, little Honda engines. I mean, whatever the farmers need, that's kind of what we work on. So I've been doing that for 10 years now, which is crazy that I moved here 10 years ago now. It's nuts. So that's what I do for a job. I don't typically get away during the day for fire calls, just because we are a very busy shop, and I'm a service manager out there, so I kind of got to stick around. But
he gets to go if it's a good working fire and they need him, or if the call is right next to where he works for like a car wreck or something like that.
Right,
like really, really emergency where he needs to be there or it's that close, he will go. But if it's just a standard something or grass fire, he doesn't go unless they really need more personnel.
Yeah. And the nice thing about our department, though, is, even if like a grass fire, a lot of times we can take all our grass fighting equipment out and we still got guys here in town. So got enough guys to run them. So I've been in the fire service for 8 years now. Almost 9. I put that caveat on there. Almost 9.
Not quite yet. That's
Not quite yet.
March or April?
April. I'll be on here for 9 years. So, yeah, it's been freaking crazy. 8 years already. So, I got into firefighting into high school, college. I was really interested in it, and life took me a different direction. I ended up going to a small engine course instead of through a firefighter's course, which moved me out here. So, I went through college and moved out here. Started a job out here, and I went from, which I lived in Lincoln for college, but I grew up in a town of 15,000, moved out here to a town of less than 2,000. I didn't have any friends. So, joined the fire department, basically just looking for more people to hang out with. I didn't know if I'd really like it or not. I always had the interest in it, but that's how I joined, and I'm here 8 years later, so.
And you drug me with you.
And I drug you with me. That's how I got into it, and I've loved every minute of it. That's kind of where I'll stop at the moment anyway. I'll let Taylor tell you a little bit about her, and we'll go from there. So.
All right, so my day job, I am a self-employed graphic designer, sports photographer, and I do some fire photography on the side. That's actually kind of what got me started with most of this stuff, was the fire photography. But I kind of photograph for the local area, towns around and whatnot, for sports photography, and give them a chance to have things that they wouldn't probably normally have because they aren't next to a big city. So, I joined the fire service in about, I think it was 2013 officially. So I got married to Chris in 2012, in September of 2012. Came out here. I moved from Lincoln. I didn't know anybody.
We knew each other from high school.
We knew each other from high school, which is how everything ended up and how we actually got married and whatnot. So I moved out here for him. And lived and
for me. You make it sound so terrible.
It's great. I always meant to live in some place like Chicago or bigger, so this was definitely a culture shock to me, moving here where the grocery store closes at 7 o'clock. Or 8 o'clock.
It was 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock on the weekdays, 7 o'clock on Saturdays, 5 o'clock on Sundays.
There you go.
Big culture shock for me, who's used to going grocery shopping at like midnight. So I had to relearn my entire life coming out here. I'm not a manual labor type of a person. I've kind of, that sounds terrible to say, but I've never really done a lot of that in my life. I was always the computer smarts, the book smarts.
Creatively minded.
I am definitely creatively minded. I didn't grow up working on the house, working with tools. I am definitely not one who has ever looked at firefighting as an opportunity. And I didn't even know that volunteer firefighting existed until I moved here. Or I should say until Chris told me he joined one. I didn't know you had volunteer service, which is extremely common for the public to not know that.
So what? How did you think it worked? Did you think it was paid here?
I thought it was paid everywhere.
Everywhere.
I thought it was paid everywhere. I had no idea. I didn't know. And I kind of, it's one of those things like, oh, a small town, they don't need it. Of course they need it. But in my brain, I don't know.
Nobody thinks about it.
No one thinks about it. Why would they? Why would you think about every little thing like fire departments or other things, Why would the normal person need to think about it? They don't. Anyways, I moved here. Well, I fell in love, got married, moved here. And I was trying to start my own graphic design business here, working from home. I didn't know anybody. I wasn't working for anybody else. I was trying to do my own thing. So I didn't have a lot of chance to meet people. In a small town, I'm sure other people who are listening to this can understand, it can be hard if you don't start out working somewhere to meet people. And especially when your husband hasn't been in town that long either, it's very hard. So we moved to town, and he's like, well, hey, why don't you come take pictures for the fire department? Get pictures of everyone doing things. You can document things on scene that happen in times and whatnot. He ran it by the fire chief. He said, good to go. Come on in. Bring her in. So I started showing up to their scenes when they had calls. Taking pictures. All was going great. I fell in love with doing that. So I was taking pictures with the fire department for about a year. And at that same time, I was also on the Firefighters Auxiliary. So...
and I drug this into her because... Yeah. I drug her into this because she was bored at home. Mm-hmm. Not even necessarily so she could meet people. Just because she's bored at home and I wanted her to do something.
Oh, thank you.
Either that or I wanted to show off.
Both.
Yeah, I like showing off.
Such a guy. So the Firefighters Auxiliary, for those of you who don't know, basically the spouses of the firefighters get together and they do things for the community. They do some community projects and whatnot. And then they also do things to support the firemen, specifically while we're on scene. So if we need food or other replenishments or whatnot, they will get all that together. They will cook or whatever needs done, get food out to us, things like that.
Coffee. They bring us coffee.
Coffee, awesome. Water, hot chocolate.
Ice cream. Which isn't always the best thing.
I did not get ice cream last time. I was very sad.
I missed it too. But I've heard some horror stories about ice cream and firemen. So.
I don't think that's the best idea. But they are fantastic. There are also volunteers that do this, just our spouses. So I was on that for a little while while doing this photography thing for the fire department. And I had a blast doing it. Well, the more and more I showed up to the fires, the more and more I loved it. I loved the adrenaline rush of just going to a fire and not knowing when it was going to happen and just everything that went around with being on a fire scene. I had full rights to do whatever I really wanted to on a fire scene as long as I was safe. So it was really fun. So the more and more I got into it, I started really wanting to know what was going on. I wanted to do more with it. So the fire chief came up to me one day. It's like, hey, we can teach you more if you want. You can start coming to our practices. And I'm like, sure, why not? So.
And that was saying something because our old fire chief, he was kind of a grump sometimes.
He was a grump, but he was a teddy bear at the same time. I'm sure everyone knows somebody like that. But he was a grump, but he was a teddy bear. And he's just like, hey, you look like you're into this. You should totally come to practices. He could see it before I could see it.
Yeah.
And I love
that. Good at that.
Oh, man. I don't know how he was good at that, but he was. So I started coming to the trainings about 2014-ish, and I just loved it. I loved learning more about it. So I officially became a member.
Now I'm starting to get really nervous.
Why?
Because you're starting to get into the fire service.
Yes.
This was my thing. I guess It was my fault, hindsight, but...
So in 2014-ish, approximately, they officially brought me on. Well, they went ahead and they put on the years of service on past to when I started taking pictures, I believe. Or at least for most of that or something like that. Is where they actually they went back and put that on.
It was a very confusing process.
It was a very confusing process. I did not come on in the traditional sense.
She wasn't technically a member when she was taking pictures, but we had insurance on her, and then we finally got to the point where she was doing more fire stuff than pictures.
Yeah, and that's where it got confusing because I was doing fire stuff and not just pictures. That was a whole mess of the inside operations. Okay, so that got fixed officially in meeting, whatever. I'm officially a member of the department. Yay! So go on for a few years, and sometime, I don't know what year it was necessarily. It was decently early on in my official stuff at the fire department. I started the Facebook page. I started being head of the recruitment and retention for the fire department, and I thought we needed a Facebook page. I thought that we needed to have a way to outreach to people my age and younger nowadays, They aren't looking necessarily in the local paper or on the radio. They're looking on Facebook, very honestly. So I decided to start that up, and I was actually one of the first few departments in Nebraska to start it up. I think a few other places may have had it, like Lincoln and Omaha, and maybe a couple other volunteer departments, but not very many.
As big as Facebook was, it surprised me, because I feel like you really started that trend.
That's kind of tooting my own horn, but I really, especially in Nebraska, I started that trend with fire departments.
I think so.
Even if other departments had a Facebook page, they didn't use it like I did.
Yeah.
I was really doing the outreach with it, and it's got even better here in the last year or two. That's kind of fun to say, that I really steam-headed that.
Yeah. May not have been the first, but I think you definitely started the trend there. So.
Yeah. I think other departments started following us and watching us to see what we were doing and got the ideas of starting their own from us, so that was fun. And so I became the head of recruitment and retention and was in charge of that for a while. And then later on, the recruitment and retention actually became combined with public relations. So then I actually took that on as well as the chairperson. So I've been head of that since 2019 officially. So I deal with a lot of the public outreach, any of the events we have. I am a big hand in the fire prevention stuff that we do. Basically, any of the events that we go to or whatnot, and with the Facebook page, I am in charge of. I love doing that kind of thing with it. Otherwise, I am just a worker bee. Our red hats are just normal firefighters in this department, and I'm just one of those, and I'm happy to do that, and I'm learning a lot. So that's where I'm at with the fire department, just kind of trying to get better at being a firefighter in general, while giving what I can with the public relations side of things I actually know how to do.
There you go.
So it's definitely been a big journey doing things with the fire department. It is
You've
out of my
done a lot in 7 years, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So.
For something that was completely new to me.
Yeah, no kidding. So, now that you've read your credentials.
Yeah, go ahead.
I guess I gotta do mine. So like I said, I've been in the service here for 8 years, almost 9. Joined in 2012. The year after I joined, I got my EMT license so I could run on the ambulance, even though it was separate from the fire department. I actually kind of got that by accident, which is a funny story in itself. But long story short, got my EMT license 2013. 2014, I got my Firefighter 1, which was unique for our department because our department does not require Firefighter 1. And I know a lot of departments do, not necessarily super local to us, but yeah, get out a little ways and they do require Firefighter 1. After that, I became training officer, helped train a lot of guys, get them in, at least started on the new stuff anyway. So 2015, I became a lieutenant when we still had lieutenants. Did lieutenant and training officer all the way up till 2018. And then I became an assistant chief for a year. And then after that, I resigned from being a training officer. I still like to train guys, still take guys under my wing and still help them out with training and giving them knowledge to the best of my abilities. But now I'm just a firefighter, so I get to go have all the fun instead of watch everyone else go have fun. So that's where I'm at in my career, I guess. I haven't done quite as much, but moved up the chain and back down the chain, so that's fun. So that's kind of us in a nutshell. I got 8 years, she's got 7 years on, and with our experience, we hope to bring you guys something new to think about or just a different perspective on things. So, and I'm sure all our conversations in the future will hinge on what we have. So there's our kind of our credentials, if you will. So how long have we been married for 8 years now?
Yes.
So, been married for 8 years, so we're hoping to bring you guys not only our experience in the fire service, but being married, we hope to bring you guys kind of a different perspective on it, because one thing we found out through the 7 years of us both being on the fire department is we both have a different perspective on it.
Oh, definitely.
And we get in little bickers every once in a while about how maybe we should have done something or why something was done, and it's A lot of it's just a different perspective of thinking, female to male, or just being married to each other. I don't know. Maybe we just say what we want. I don't know. But so we're kind of hoping to bring you that. This podcast, who knows where it'll go, but we're kind of hoping to do that for you. I guess this whole podcast idea was her idea in the first place. So I guess what's your intentions with it, hon?
Well, I listen to a bunch of podcasts from a bunch of different topics. I have probably about 10 or so different fire ones I listen to. I love listening to every single one. But I was listening to them, and I realized even the volunteer firefighters we listen to for podcasting, they are who you aspire to be, I feel like. They aren't necessarily where we're at.
They're a bigger volunteer department.
They are definitely bigger.
Or a more active volunteer department.
Yes, that's a better way of putting it. They're more active volunteer departments than we are. And the ones we're specifically referencing are like DTFF, the Volunteer Firefighter Podcast.
Which is a great podcast.
It's an amazing podcast. I love listening to it. I think Ash is my favorite to listen to, just by the way. Anyway.
He's pretty funny.
So I started, that's probably one of the first ones I started listening to. They're based out of Canada. They're amazing. And then another big one on the volunteer service-wise is the Bar Boys, which is the Brotherhood Academy Radio podcast. And they're based out of the East Coast, I believe.
I'm pretty sure that's where they're out of.
So listen to theirs, but they're who you aspire to be. Well, I hate saying it. We might not be necessarily who other people aspire to be.
I feel like they're, for a lack of better words, a much more professional volunteer department.
Yes, they are, which is fantastic. We are probably along the lines of the average, everyday volunteer fire department here.
We're like the semi-professional.
Yeah.
We could do better, but we could be a lot worse.
Now, we don't go to fires with no shirts under our bunker gear. We don't run like that. But but, you know, we're not wild guns or anything like that, but we aren't, like, the super professional either, you know? Like, we are somewhere in the middle.
I think it's just because we don't have the call volume.
Yeah.
And it's hard to motivate guys when you don't have that call volume.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of what puts us in the classification that we are.
Oh, definitely. And I think with the number of people we have in the town, we probably fit a more average look at the volunteer fire service in general. So I kind of wanted to give that perspective. I wanted to give a perspective on the Midwest and the firefighting tactics or the things that we have, our perspectives on everything. And then again, yeah, from the marriage side, it's so different. We don't know a lot of firefighters who are married. It's more common, I believe, in the volunteer service to have married couples in the fire service, but it's still not common. And it's something I thought that was really lacking out there. So I'm hoping to be able to bring that to the table and then to maybe encourage other people that you can do this with your spouse and it will work.
Yeah. The few couples that we do find within the fire service, especially the volunteer side, usually the guy's working the firefighting side of the job, and the wife is working the EMS side of the job.
Yeah. If you guys didn't catch this, so he's on both the firefighting and EMS side, and I'm just on the firefighting side. I don't quite have the stomach for the EMS side. But that's not even what I like to do. I love the fire side. I'm okay with just doing that. So it's definitely very different from even other couples we know.
Yep, for sure. So that's kind of what we hope to bring you. We'll just kind of go down a little rabbit hole here and tell you a little bit what we like and kind of have some fun with it. We do have a few questions wrote down here, so we'll kind of go off those, and wherever it leads us, it leads us. So what's the most difficult thing about being married and being on the same fire department?
I think the most difficult thing about being in the fire service with my spouse, with you specifically.
With me.
With you specifically.
Not with any spouse, with me.
Is keeping things separate between the house and the fire department. It's been a lot to learn to work through with that. I have to know that if we say something or he says something to me, especially for the longest time, he was above me on the food chain here at the fire department. That it wasn't something against me. It wasn't how he felt against me or the marriage or whatever. It's completely separate from marriage. You know, if I do something wrong here at the fire station, he's gonna let me know. And I have to know it's not personal. I have to know that it's not what you think of me as a wife.
Right.
Or as a person. It's just maybe I screwed something up there or whatnot. Or
maybe it was just loud and I had to yell so you could hear me.
But if I have a grievance with him at the fire department, we also have to know that should not be going into our personal life as all. We do our best to keep separate, but it's a hard thing to have to remember.
We do bicker at home. I can't say we fight at home.
We bicker here.
Well, yeah. We talk about it at home, but nothing crazy. Just we go until we either understand each other or we've had enough of each other and leave it at that. So
yeah.
Same thing for me, I'm guessing?
Yeah.
Okay. So the most difficult thing for me, which is kind of different for most people, is I let the rest of the department train you. Mm-hmm. Which, I guess from her perspective, she wanted me to train her, but I really had to trust all my other firefighters, because I was an officer at the time, so I call them my firefighters. But I had to trust everyone else to train her, because I was going to take it easy on her. I knew if we rolled 5-inch out and she was having a hard time moving it, I was just going to go over and do it for her, and I had to let everyone else give her the hard time and let her be the rookie firefighter, and that was hard. So yeah. You really didn't appreciate that at the time.
Yeah, so. I really wanted you to train me. You knew everything about me. You knew how to talk to me. You knew how... I understand things way different than everybody else here on the fire department. And he knows exactly how I think. So I thought it'd be so much easier. I'm like, you have to train me because you're gonna know how to explain things to me the way I can understand it. The way you can get through to me and whatnot. You know where my shortcomings are or where my skills are, and I thought that would actually be a bonus. And so it was very difficult to get used to.
Yeah, but at the same time, you had to build the bond with the other guys, too.
Yeah.
And not being that couple on the fire department.
Yeah.
I mean, you had to build a bond with the guys, and you had to learn it the right way.
Yeah.
Because if I wasn't there, you had to be able to trust those other guys too.
Oh, definitely. Well, there's plenty of calls that I'm on that you're not on, specifically with your job. Not always your job, but sometimes your job not letting you go. And where I work for myself, granted, sometimes I still can't go, but I can go more often than you. So if I'm going during a daytime.
Yep, that's probably been the most difficult thing about being on the department together, for me anyway.
What's been the best thing?
The best thing?
Yeah.
I get to yell at you sometimes. No, I'm just kidding. No, probably the best thing is just getting to share the love for the fire service. And like I said earlier, I was kind of nervous at first when you got into it because it was kind of my thing. I was very proud of it, and how many guys do you know run into I can't say I ran into a burning house, but go into a burning house for the fun of it and just have that thrill, and now your wife gets to do it too. That's no fun. But no, it's really changed from being not really nervous, but having you first join to now, because I get to share a call that we went on and get excited about it and talk about it, and you actually understand what's going on. You're not just nodding your head and saying, that's nice, honey.
Like every other spouse does. Not that I'm doubting.
You did it for a while.
I did it for a while. So when I was just taking pictures or with the auxiliary, I would not go to things like car wrecks, because it was kind of understood that we didn't need pictures of car wrecks and stuff like that. It would be more...
paperwork.
No.
Discipline.
OSHA? No.
OSHA.
No.
FEMA.
I don't know.
Privacies.
HIPAA.
There you go.
We had to get to run to the right one. There was too many laws involved with taking pictures of car wrecks. And I wasn't up on any of that, and we just decided it'd be easier with car wrecks not to deal with it.
Yep.
At that time. And I started getting into it more when I was actually on the fire department, but anyways. So there'd be times he'd go on a wreck, and I would know what happened. I mean, he left in the middle of a meal, and I'm like, when are you coming back? I don't know.
That was kind of before you got on the department in general. Like,
yes.
Gone for hours, and like you had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, I didn't know who to contact. I didn't have any friends in town. I'm like, what do I do?
But yeah, now we get to share all that experience and all the excitement and talk about how we screwed up or did or what we missed.
Yeah.
All the fun stuff. What's your best thing of being on the fire department with your spouse?
The best thing about being on the fire department with you, I think, would have to be spending more time with you. That sounds funny, but especially since at the fire department we kind of try to keep our own separate things going on. When we're here, we don't act like a couple, necessarily. We're kind of our own two separate people, which actually makes it easier keeping our marriage life separate from the fire department when it comes to the worst that I was talking about before. So the best, being able to do something else with you, we don't have that much in common. We do. We have quite a bit, but at the same time, it feels like not enough.
We have, like, completely different hobbies.
We have
we have a lot
hobbies.
in common, but, like, I'm very much a hands-on person. I want to go build something or remodel something or fix something.
And I would rather work on figurative or literal puzzles.
Yeah.
Or do other things like that. Those are more my hobbies.
Yeah. Well, and going back here, being separate on a fire department, it's a lot to keep the other guys comfortable too, though.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just so we're not a couple at the fire department because we don't want to hang out with each other. It also keeps the department nice and relaxed on us. We're not all cuddly and marriage and treat my wife nice and everything like that. You know, you get just as much of the fair treatment as everyone else gets. You know, and it helps you become more one of the guys, I guess. How about that?
Yeah, and I have no problem with that. I actually love it. I know, especially on volunteer departments, a lot of guys, this is their escape.
Yeah.
You know, this is their thing to do on their own. And so this thing that we're doing together would not be for everybody to do together. I understand that. And honestly, a lot of wives probably would not want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
But to keep everyone comfortable and ourselves comfortable and everything running smoothly, we kind of stay separate.
Yeah.
We do our own thing. We have our own closer friends on the fire department from each other. Obviously, we back each other up when it counts, but...
Yeah, it's not like we don't want to be around each other all the time. It's just...
we allow ourselves to be ourselves here.
Yeah.
We don't have to be defined as a couple here, which is
right.
The best.
There you go. That's the best way. We're not defined as a couple.
Yes.
Even though everyone knows we're married and still kind of watches out, it definitely helps.
Yeah.
So, anyway, the best thing is spending more time together. Again, it's just something else that we can do, a hobby together, I guess. How about that? So.
And apparently we love it so much together that we're doing this. So.
Yeah. Now we're doing this. So, which I drug her into the fire service. She's dragging me into this. So, whatever. Fair share. So, some more just random fire questions, kind of more about ourselves and everything. So, what is your passion or your favorite thing to do in the fire service?
That sounded very skeptical.
Well, it's a question. What do you like to do the most here?
I like to do the most. Okay, so I love learning. I'm a knowledge gatherer, so I am in love with the learning of the training and stuff, specifically when it comes to fire behavior and the smoke reading and things like that. I love that. I eat that up. I just want to know more, and it's more so on the structure fire world of things, but knowledge in general.
You're the bookworm.
I am the bookworm. I have the book smarts, and I know people are going to bash me for that because I don't have the...
You don't have the experience
I don't have the experience to back it up. And they may be like, well, you would never know if you didn't have the experience. Or, experience is 1,000 times better than book. Well, you know what? I'm going to learn my book stuff because I'm good at that.
That's what makes you comfortable, though.
That is what makes me comfortable. So I am not the best at doing a lot of the firefighter things. I try my best. I can hold my own. But I am not the best at pushing inside in a fire or doing some other things. So if I have this knowledge behind me, specifically fire behavior and smoke reading and whatnot, I can be the one on the inside who's the brains behind the operation, being like, hey, the other dude on the hose line with me, something's not looking good, we need to figure something out. Or, hey, the fire's probably over there. Or something, I feel like I'm going to be able to bring a bunch of other stuff to the table. And the more I learn now is going to make me more comfortable inside, where I'm going to be able to do better when we get those structure calls that we don't have very often.
Right.
That is my big passion with everything, is that.
Yeah. So the other thing with being a married couple, like I said before, like our brains are completely separate. Mm-hmm. You're a book smart person. I'm very much a hands-on, I'll wing it from here, which gets kind of dangerous, but I also have the knowledge to back it up, and I've learned from a lot of guys above me that have taught me a lot of the stuff where you're going out the books.
Okay, hold on. When he says going out of the book, I did not officially take Firefighter 1, but I'm taking a lot of classes from different people at fire schools or other things, so it's not necessarily the books that everyone's going to get down on. It's from classes.
Right.
From experienced firefighters.
Experienced classes.
You have to say that because people are going to bash me. I just know it.
So, I'm going to bring this up here because you're female, I'm male.
What?
Yeah. Typically speaking, and stereotypically here, male guys are very much hands-on, go do things, wing it, and we'll see what happens. Female brains tend to be more analytical about things.
Except for the females who are usually drawn to the fire service.
Yeah, except your typical female firefighters. But, so I'm going to bring something up here, and you can do what you want with it. But
okay.
You have anxiety.
Yes. That's something new we haven't brought up yet.
Yeah, exactly. But most women, I'm going to stereotype here, probably have some anxiety to a degree of knowing. They want to know because they got that analytical mind.
I think everybody does, but okay.
Right, but I think women it's more prevalent in.
Okay.
Guys are more willing to just wing it and hope they hang out with the guys.
Yeah. Guys are definitely more fake it till you make it. Girls want to know more of, hey, let's figure it out. Don't fake it because you're gonna.
Let's make a plan first.
Exactly. Let's make a plan because you don't want to hurt anybody or anything. Whereas the guys are definitely fake it till you make it.
So the books make you more comfortable inside, like you said.
Yes.
That knowledge.
Yes.
So, any female firefighters or potential firefighters out there, that's probably a good way for them to get comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Because they're not just going to jump into it like most guys will. So, just because you don't have the experience to back it up, it definitely makes you more comfortable inside.
Yes.
And even from my perspective, having Firefighter 1 and fire school and conferences and lessons and all that kind of stuff, like, you still rely on that knowledge, and it does make you more comfortable because you have a better idea of what's going on. You know you're not just walking into something stupid and dangerous. It's not a bad thing. And like you said, you may not have the knowledge or the experience to completely back it up, but you already have the knowledge. You're just waiting for the experience to come.
Yeah.
So they might chew you out, but I think you grab the knowledge because that's what's available to you right now, not the experience.
Yeah.
Since we are such a slow department.
Yeah. Well, being a slow department, we do not have our own training grounds. There aren't a lot of conferences or trainings happening in here for like outside trainings.
Especially this year.
Especially this year.
Due to the unspoken.
It's almost like Voldemort of viruses here. You can't say the name. Spoiler alert, it's coronavirus.
COVID-19.
COVID-19, which has moved into 20, which will move into 2021.
Anyway, so your passion is very much knowledge and book smart, and I think I don't know if you told them, but you told me that you want to do safety officer
I've not
someday.
told them yet.
Oh, I will let you tell them. Sorry. Don't listen to me. She's going to tell you something.
So my preferred position on the fire ground, I'm technically not, so I can't say that's my preferred position now, but in the future, I would love to be a safety officer. I feel like that's a big part of my skill set with the book smarts and whatnot, and I look for the negative in things.
You're always looking for what could go wrong.
I'm always looking for what could go wrong in every situation, life or whatever. But that's a perfect safety officer right there. You need someone who can always see what could go wrong, and then weigh that with the resources, of who are on scene and whatnot, and the likelihood of that happening. Yeah. I feel like that's a good safety officer. Now, just because I always think of what's going to go wrong doesn't mean I'm going to stop everybody at every second and be like, you can't do that, it's too dangerous. No. That's where, all this book smart and stuff and learning from trainings and stuff and the experience all comes together with being able to outweigh that with the greater good, the better odds, the...
risk versus benefit.
There you go, the risk versus benefit of everything. So my future job that I would love to have on the fire ground is safety officer. That would be my number one. I would do amazing at that.
I think you would too.
Yeah.
You'd be really good at it. I wouldn't like having you be higher in the food chain than me, but... I think you'd be good at it though.
So here on our department, technically... Usually the safety officer is under the chief and assistant chief, but they can outrule them if the safety deems it so.
Yep.
So.
And that should be universal, I think, across all the fire service. So.
Yeah.
If it isn't, it should be.
Yeah,
so,
it's one of those definitely risk versus reward. And there's some departments out there who have safety officers who do not think about that.
Yo, for sure. So.
And your preferred position on the fire ground?
I love structure fires. That's me.
But
all
your
the way.
position.
Hoseman. Nozzleman.
Specifically, you don't want to be the backup guy.
I don't want to be a backup guy. I want to be a guy in front of the nozzle. Going in.
Go put the wet stuff on the red stuff.
That's me. Yep. That is where I love to be. Being an officer was fun because I got to be in charge of a lot of guys, which weirdly enough was fun for me. Not a control freak by any means, but definitely was a boost to my confidence knowing that I knew what I was talking about and how to guide guys and stuff like that. But I definitely miss being on the front of that hose. That's the funnest part to me. So that is definitely where I prefer to be, for sure. I don't know. I don't have a big, long spiel like you do, I guess. But
mine's always more complicated. I'm a girl. Guys know what they want. They go for it. They're like, bang, that's it. And I'm a stereotypical girl here, like, well, you see, there's this angle, then there's this angle, then there's this.
Exactly.
So what's your favorite tool or object that we have on one of the trucks or here in the station?
What's my favorite one, or what's the one I go for all the time?
Either. Both.
Either or both?
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, the one I go for all the time, because here we kind of go by the rule, like if you, when you get off the truck, you take a tool with you. That's just kind of the general rule. Grass fires are a little bit different, but car wrecks, structure fires, anything of that sort. You get off the truck, you take a tool with you. My go-to tool is New York hook. Usually a 3 or 4 foot New York hook. It's light, it's usable for a lot of different things. You can pull a lot of ceiling with it, breach walls. I don't think it's quite as versatile as like a Halligan, but I definitely think it's the way to go, weight versus benefit kind of thing, you know? So yeah, my go-to tool off the truck is a New York hook. We call them yellow bars here, which is weird, but New York hook, definitely get the weight. It's a lot lighter than dragging a Halligan around all the time.
I was going to say, most people would go for Halligan as their first tool, especially, even on our department, they'd say Halligan first. So I was very surprised to hear New York hook for you.
Yeah.
So wait, did you say what size of New York hook you'd go for?
Like a 3-4 foot New York hook. So I feel like it's versatile, like weight versus benefit kind of deal. Like Halligan's an 8 pound of screwed crap up.
Well, yeah, but you can also use it for forcing doors. I've seen people use it for the stepping up onto first floor windows or things like that. You know,
Halligan?
So yeah.
Yeah.
There's tons of stuff to use that for. So it's very interesting to hear you say New York hook for someone who can very easily wield a Halligan.
Yes, I feel like there's a better benefit for me with the New York hook.
Yeah.
Because you can still do a lot with it. And granted, we don't really do a whole lot of searching and stuff like that, but if you're running around in a house with an 8 pound bar in your hand,
you're going to get tired.
You get wore out pretty fast. And you can call me a wimp. I don't care. But that yellow bar, I can do just as much with that yellow bar as I can with the Halligan most of the time. So that's why I go for that one. And I think the benefits, for me personally, outweighs running around with the Halligan all the time. So
yeah.
Plus, we can never find a Halligan when we want it.
We can never.
Everyone grabs a Halligan. I think you use the yellow bar too, don't you?
Yeah, that's probably one of my favorite ones is a New York hook.
So
New York hook, yellow bar, Acron bar, whatever the crap you want to call it.
Acron's a brand.
Is that really the brand? Whatever. But I go for a different size.
Yeah, but but guess what I was getting at though is everyone always goes for the Halligan. No one goes for the bars.
Yeah.
So that's the other reason is I know where the bars are and nobody else ever grabs them. So I'm almost guaranteed it. I
would rather go for the New York hook, Acron bar, yellow bar, whatever you want to call it. All the same thing as far as I'm concerned. I would rather go for like a 2 foot one. So I'm very, very short. I am 5'2", and Chris is decently tall.
6'4".
He is 6'4". So
over a foot of difference here, and we're married. Just picture that.
Exactly. Slow dancing is very awkward, let me tell you. Anyways, so I go for like the 2 foot. It's a lot more comfortable for me to carry. For me, not being a big person who, with manual labor or whatever, it's something easy, something lighter I can carry and use. If I don't go for that, Usually the first tool off the truck I'll get, especially if I'm going inside, I will get that little hatchet. What do you call it, something other than a hatchet? Like
I don't know.
It's a little it's a tiny, like less than a foot little axe that
I've
can
heard them
clip
called
to your
axes.
Huh?
Car axes or extrication axes.
Yeah. I know that's not what everybody else would say. I know they're like, well, you should take an actual tool. Well, am I going to take something that really hinders me from actually doing my job? Or am I going to take something that I can actually carry and still do my job with? That still is a tool.
But grabs that too, though.
He does. So on our department is taller than Chris. Yeah. Is more of a farm boy than Chris.
He's got way more muscle on him than I do.
And he grabs that too, so I don't feel so bad.
Yeah.
And it's something nice, like I said, it has a little carabiner that can stick to your gear or something, or your pack and go on there, whatever. That is my go-to. Either that or the Acrim bar is the go-to for my tools. So.
But then you gotta get into your favorite tool.
My favorite tool. I don't know.
You don't know what your favorite tool is?
My favorite tool would be, I'm going to bring it up later in my bunker gear, so we'll save it for that. So if you're paying attention, my favorite tool is going to be in my bunker gear in a little bit. So just wait.
There you go.
So now's the point in the episode. We're going to go over some rapid fires before we end here. Some related to, some not related to the fire service. All right. Bath or shower?
Shower.
Whiskey or beer?
Whiskey.
Beach or mountain?
Both.
Both?
Yes.
Read or watch?
Watch.
Bad breath or body odor if you had to have one? If you had to have one.
Bad breath.
Cardio or weights?
Cardio, weights. Weights. I changed it to weights.
You changed
I misspoke. Weights.
We already answered this, but New York hook or Halligan?
New York.
First thing you do in the morning?
Get out of bed.
Someone that you like to listen to talk fire.
Anybody that talks fire.
That's it?
I don't have anyone really specific I listen to. A lot of different podcasts, though. If I had to pick one person specifically.
It could be podcast or a real life or a training you went to or a conference you went to or something. Just someone. It doesn't necessarily have to be your favorite. Just someone you like to listen to.
I love listening to Do Work podcasts.
Ooh. Good one.
No one very super specific, but it's a super good podcast. They're really funny. So yeah. I like listening to them. They got a lot of good information.
The favorite item in your bunker gear?
My favorite item in my bunker gear be my bunker gear itself.
Okay. I'll take it.
I got a bow ring. I really like my bow ring.
Yeah.
I haven't got a different one yet, but a tool similar to that, which you have in yours, will soon be my favorite.
Spoilers! Careful.
I didn't say it. But right now I run a bow ring, and that's my favorite tool in my bunker gear. So.
Your fireground pet peeve?
People not knowing what to do. That is my pet peeve. People standing around waiting for you to tell them what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like there's a certain amount, especially within that first 10 minutes of a fire, that people in general should know what to do or how to set up or this or that. And it peeves me when I see people standing around when there's things that need to be done. Mm-hmm. That's what peeves me. Or people not wanting to work.
I think a big part of that is people have been scared. They have been forced to being scared of freelancing, and on a volunteer department, some people can't...
This is rapid fire, honey.
Shut up, I'm talking. Some people confuse freelancing with knowing what to do.
Right.
So, and for a volunteer department, that honestly can be a very fine line. Your pump-up song. So, if you had to have a song that either pumped you up for a fire or that you could blare from the fire engine or truck as you went to the fire, what would it be?
I'm not a huge AC/DC fan, but it would be AC/DC, and I don't even know which song it is.
It's something by AC/DC.
It's they played at the beginning of Iron Man. I think Iron Man 2, where he jumps from the plane.
Oh, I don't know what song that is.
But it's the beginning like 30 seconds or whatever. Like that, I don't know.
That would be the song?
That would be the song. It just sticks in my head and it's fun.
Awesome.
That's what I think of every time is Iron Man jumping on a plane. Like, this is awesome.
If you had to choose, house fire on a 100+ degree day or below 0?
100-degree day, any day. It sucks, but it's way better than the cold.
Preferred food on a fire scene. If you had to choose what food you were getting fed.
I don't even know. It depends if it's hot or cold. If it's hot, honestly, sandwiches and water is pretty good.
If it's cold?
Anything hot.
Very nice.
Coffee.
It's
Hot
good.
Chocolate.
It's a good meal for a cold day. Coffee.
Mm-hmm. Chicken noodle soup.
Oh, I can just see that coming up the wrong way.
I know. As soon as I said that, I was like, that's probably not a good idea.
Never eat more than what your face mask can hold.
That's right. You learn well.
Red or blue Gatorade?
Blue.
Blue.
Just tastes better.
And is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
It's hardly relevant. I'm going to have to say no. It's not a Christmas movie. It has nothing to do with Christmas. It just happens to take place around Christmas.
So what makes
There's
a
no
Christmas
Christmas
movie?
spirit.
Is that what makes a Christmas movie?
I
The
think
Christmas
so.
spirit?
Like, Christmas movies are based around Christmas spirit and fun stuff like that. So it is not a Christmas movie. All right, your turn.
My turn for rapid fire?
Your turn. They gotta be rapid.
Mm-hmm.
Bath or shower?
Shower.
Whiskey or beer?
Beer. And I'm currently drinking Bud Light Lime.
She's an alcoholic.
I am not technically.
Technically. All right. Beach or mountain?
Mountain, 100%.
Let's see here. Read or watch?
I'd have to say read.
You would, you bookworm. Bad breath or body odor?
I would rather have bad breath.
I would rather you have bad breath, too. Cardio or weights?
I'm going to say cardio.
New York hook or Halligan?
New York hook. Halligan's too heavy for me. I do think the Halligan's more versatile. Don't get me wrong. And if I'm doing stuff on the outside of a house, I'm probably going to grab a Halligan. If I'm going inside, I'm grabbing a New York hook.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. First thing you do in the morning?
Check Facebook. Honestly.
There you go.
The turn on whatever podcast is going to wake me up for the morning.
Yeah, you do that. Someone you like to listen to talk fire?
I'm going to have 2.
Put in a plug.
Put in a plug here. Put in 2 plugs here. I like to listen to, and I've already said it before, DTFF, the Volunteer Firefighter Podcast out of Canada. I like listening to their fire podcast. It's really close to what we deal with here, or close enough. I really like to listen to them. I love their different perspectives. I love everything with it.
The crazy thing about them is they're a small department, because if I remember right, they have like 30 to 40 members on their department,
but they're super, they have so many fires.
Yeah, they do. They have a lot of fires. It's crazy.
It's really different. And I think they actually have times that they man the station, if I remember right.
I know they have an on-call officer all the time.
Oh, okay, so maybe it's just that.
So
but
I don't know if it's a manned station then.
So they're the podcast I like listening to. Now, for actually like listening to in-person talk fire, I could listen to Billy Greenwood all freaking day. He has a podcast, I think, on fire engineering, or at least he used to. But he's been teaching at the local Les Luker conference in Nebraska for the past few years. I love his classes. I learned the most probably from his classes, and I could listen to him talk all day, very honestly.
He's a very good instructor.
He is a very good instructor.
Yeah. Not my favorite, but I definitely know why he's your favorite. So he is a pretty good instructor.
Yeah.
If you ever get a chance to check him out, he's very good at what he does, and he knows what he's talking about. So, favorite item in your bunker gear that I will soon be switching to?
My favorite item is my Snagger Tool by Modus Fire. It is a combination of tools. It is a spanner wrench for both an 1.5 inch and 3/4 and 2.5. I have to correct myself.
It works on 1.5 inch too.
And it works for cutting out car windshields and things, and I actually used it for that for one of our trainings, and completely, I'm going to say, impressed all the guys around with my tool being able to do that, because we have a special tool on the truck, and I didn't have to use the special tool. I could use my Snagger tool for it.
You are a tool.
And there's just so many positives to that tool, so many different things you can use it for. And for someone with really small hands, I'm 5'2". I have very tiny hands. It is very difficult to find even structure gloves that work for me very well, because the way my hands are, very honestly. So being able to grip the hose is a hard thing for me, being a short, smaller person. So this Snagger tool allows me to hold onto the hose so much easier. I love it so much.
Yeah, it's a pretty awesome tool. I got the bow ring in my gear right now, and I love that because for like one of the first practices I had it at, we got a 2.5 out, and I don't even remember what the pressure was on the pump, but there was one of us holding that line with that bow ring, and it kind of does the same thing as a Snagger. It's a little more versatile. It's got a little more features to it. But the one thing that I've found with it that's kind of the drawback and why I'm going to switch probably to the Snagger is my bow ring is designed that it kind of
slides.
Yeah,
it slides with the hose. So if you needed to move, you can do that very easily.
Yeah, like put it at an angle against the hose and it holds it, but as soon as you straighten it up and put it perpendicular to the hose, it slides within the hose. Mm-hmm. And what I found is using it like in fires and situations like that, it would slide more than what it would hold. Yeah. Where your Snagger, you put it on that hose, it stays right there where you put it. So
exactly. I would see using a bow ring would be really nice. I think it would be nicer outside than inside.
Yeah. Well, it's just...
it depends if you want to be able to move around the hose or if you want to stay stable. I mean, for me, I want whatever I'm holding onto the hose with personally to stay stable where it's at.
I think the bow ring would work better in a more career setting because of the versatility of it, because it does have like your rescue aid on it. It does have the oxygen bottle.
There's the oxygen one on the Modus, on the Snagger Tool.
Really?
There is. It's that little notch on it. One of the things that was really cool is actually they showed how you can put it in like the little hole in the edge of the ladder. Put it in that, and you can actually set either like a chainsaw or some of your hose or whatever on it.
You can use it like as a hook.
As a hook, basically. And like there's so many little things with it, but yeah. I definitely agree with you with the bow ring has more options. Yeah. But I really like the Snagger tool. It really holds up well.
I think it'd be better suited for our situation, I guess. Anyway,
can the bow ring do the car windshields like the Snagger can?
Yep.
Okay, I didn't know that. So.
They're pretty similar. They're just designed different. And like I said, I think that bow ring is more designed for very much a career department where you're doing a lot more of the rope stuff and
may be, yeah,
because it's got that rescue aid in there and different stuff like that. We're going between one job to another, and it's just kind of a universal tool almost. So
yeah.
Let's see here. Fireground pet peeve.
My fireground pet peeve is, I'm gonna say, lack of communication.
That's a big one.
It pisses me off to no end.
All right. So what is your... We're not going to go into that one.
Well, that might be an entire episode on its own.
If I let her go, she's going to go. What's your pump-up song?
My pump-up song, if I were going
Let it go. Wait, nope, wrong one.
No.
Into the unknown.
So I like Frozen. I like Frozen too. And he makes fun of me for it. So we were at a training, and I was getting nervous even at the training. It's me, whatever. You guys will get to know this. It's me. Anyways, he started singing that. I'm like, are you kidding? That's not it. I'm a huge fan of Hamilton. Huge fan of Hamilton. I am an even bigger fan of Hercules Mulligan from Hamilton. So it is that song. I actually can't remember what the song is actually called. It might be the Battle of Yorktown. There's a little section there where Hercules Mulligan just kind of goes off on what he does, and that he gets the British measurements to their... So anyways, it's amazing. If you guys actually listen to the song, it's fantastic. It's a great pump-up song. Shut up. I know you're laughing at me. I can see you right now. It's an amazing song. That would be my number one pump up song, is that song.
Okay, house fire on a 100-degree day or a below zero day?
I would say a house fire on a below zero day.
You're crazy.
I know I'm crazy. I think we know enough about cold weather operations. You don't have as many firefighters going down because of heat stroke or things. I would say cold weather day. I think it's easier to stay warm rather than get cool. So personally, I do below zero.
Preferred food on a fire scene?
I would like a lot more veggies. I'm a definitely carrot and celery kind of girl on a fire scene. And give me some lunch meat and I'm good. Sandwiches, even on a cold day. I know you had to choose between yours. Lots of coffee still. But definitely carrot, celery, lunch meat, sandwiches kind of girl.
Too many veggies in there for me. Red or blue Gatorade?
Blue. 100%.
Atta girl. Die Hard?
I don't think it's a Christmas movie, but I'm starting to agree with people who say it's a Harry Potter movie.
A Harry Potter movie?
Yes!
What do you mean?
So, people have this theory out there that basically it's this guy in this tower, in this quote-unquote castle tower, whatever, running away from Alan Rickman. And Alan Rickman plays Snape in Harry Potter. So, we're getting too much into the geeky side, I think, for the fire department people out there. But I'm going to go into the impression and say Die Hard is not a Christmas movie, it's a Harry Potter movie.
And there you have it.
Bruce Willis and the escape from Alan Rickman. I don't know,
So there you guys have it.
Way too long of a podcast, but it's an introductory episode. We couldn't cut it short for you guys.
Yeah, stick with us here. We'll get better at this, and we'll have some more fun with it. So
yeah,
it'll be maybe a little more, maybe a little less ranting. I'm not quite sure, but we'll try to stick to 1 or 2 topics next time. And
I am not guaranteeing anything on the ranting going on here.
We'll try to make it fun for you guys, though, and we appreciate you listening. So
thanks for getting to know a little about us.
Have a good night, good day, good whatever time you're listening to this.
And we'll see you on the next episode.
There you go.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. We hope you enjoyed it.
Be sure to leave us a rating and review wherever you're listening to us.
Find us on Facebook and Instagram at Couplings Fire Podcast.
See you next time.